Everybody.
Good morning.
Hey guys, can everybody hear me okay?
I hear you.
Yeah, sorry for getting a little bit of a late start here. We had our Zoom accounts getting changed over. So there's a couple little tech glitches on the back end. But I think we're good to go. Is my sound okay? Everything good with the sound?
Good job.
Awesome. All right, if this is your first time on the Team Leader Broker Mastermind call, it would be awesome if you could introduce yourself and a little bit about what your goal is for 2022. It's your first time on the call.
My name's Tony, and I guess my goal is to do 24 to 30 transactions this year.
Awesome.
I did 14 last year, and then I have to tell you, I did street text. I ran my first ad yesterday. I have 2 leads.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome, man. Congrats. That's good.
I both this morning and left messages, so I'll put them on a drip campaign.
Okay, good. That's great. Way to get off to a fast start, Tony. Immediate implementation. I love it. So Tony just came off of our boot camp. You were at actually this past Monday and Tuesday. So it's great to see you on this call, Tony.
Thank you.
So this just for everybody's knowledge and information. This is a Team Leader and Broker Mastermind call. So this is designed for anyone who's looking to build a team, is currently building a team, and really wants to do it the right way. Factoring in modern day technology, the changes that are happening in the real estate industry every single day, and making sure you're staying at cutting edge so you can do this team model profitably. And so Brian Curtis is the head of our coaching and consulting platform, specifically focusing on the team leader broker space, also helping out with other stuff as well. And he is very, very dynamic. For those of you that have not met him before, in regards that he's not just in the trenches. His team does over 500 transactions, but he's been coaching and training technology, marketing, consulting in that space for over 6 years. And so Brian, I believe you're going to talk about today is the day in the life of a team leader is kind of the focus of today. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to kind of look at that. And it's interesting because, Isaiah and I had a brief conversation about that. We actually do have a plan, in case some of you guys wonder if we don't. We actually do have a plan. But, when I sat down and thought about this, it's interesting. And I'm going to have a little bit of a dynamic approach to it. And what I mean by that, I'm not going to tell you at 8 o'clock, you got to do this, and 9 o'clock, you got to do this, and 10 o'clock. And as an agent, that's really pretty easy to do. But as a team leader, that's a little bit more challenging because it's just not as simplistic. And I want to start, talk about that. But anyway, Isaiah, I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, that's perfect. Yeah. So I want to get out. I want to get out of the way and I turn it over to you. And I'm probably going to ask some questions along the way just to keep the dialogue going. And guys, this is a mastermind. So what that means is we don't want to do all the talking. We want you guys to ask questions and exchange ideas and have really good, really substantive, real talk, real conversation. So Brian, if you want to kick us off, it'd be great.
Yeah. So, this is what, and some of you, by show of hands, if y'all don't mind, I know we don't have a lot of people on here just yet, but by show of hands, how many of you are full-time team leaders who are not in production? Okay.
Bobby is, and I know Lee is as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
So Bobby,
And
you're in production or not in production?
they're not. And I know Angela, who's in the background there, I think she's still somewhat in production, but like going to that next level.
Perfect. So I'm going to talk about mostly that. It doesn't mean that you can't glean the same information as a team, as someone who's in production. If you're in production, you're just going to have to fill in some more spots. And sometimes people ask me this, and I'm just going to throw it out there on the front end. How do you build a massive team and not go broke? And, honestly, for the first couple of years that I was building a team, I just worked 80 to 100 hours a week. Now, there are things that we don't have to do anymore that I had to do, or that's not had is extreme, that I chose to do. So, if you're that team leader who's working 80 to 100 hours a week, let's have that conversation, because there's opportunities for you to create leverage that I'm not say didn't exist, but I didn't know about it. They weren't as mainstream, that exists today that allow you to do that. So with that in mind, let's just get some people who are doing this. And again, I like to have a discussion. How do you guys decide what you're going to do on any given day? Let me just start there. Like, what is your process? Because to me, Lee's going to be different than me, than Bobby, than Michelle. We're all going to have slightly different, but the process is what matters. So, Lee, I see you unmuted. How do you figure out what you're going to do on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, I have set meetings pretty much all week, whether it's a mastermind, so I typically try to work around my schedule around, the pockets of time that I have available. And what I specifically do is the night before, every night before I go to bed, I make a list of everything that I want to accomplish the next day, because sometimes it's hard. Like, for example, like yesterday, I had an agent that I brought on, and she said, "Oh my God, there's 2 other agents at our office that want to come with me." So my whole day changed, and and those are good things. Those are the things that I love when those things happen. So I and that's why I was late today. Is I had to take care of all that stuff. But so you always need to have a buffer too. So I mean,
love
that's
the
just
buffer. Yeah.
Life is one big buffer, because there's always stuff, and I always give, if I think that if I have a 9 a.m. appointment and then I think I'm going to book my next one for 10, make it 10:30, because it's never done that quickly. And if you're done early, then you can try to get that other meeting, pushed up a little bit.
I love that. One of the things I think people forget is that my Star Trek transporter broke. And here's what I mean by that. If I've got a meeting in my office from 10 to 11, I can't have a meeting at 11 o'clock halfway across town. My transporter does not work. So that's great that you put a buffer in there. I coach a team on Thursday mornings, and I coach them my time from 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And I've got a buffer from 10 to 10:30 to review that, because I'm coaching a mentor. It's a bunch of mentors, and it's a different process, because I want to spend that 15, and it doesn't usually take me more than 15 minutes putting together what I'm going to talk about next time based on what that was, because it's every single week, and that's a lot of content, and I'm fresh on it. So I love the concept of buffers. So let me go back to something else. Does anybody sit down and make commitments that they're going to accomplish for a week or for a month? Does anyone do anything like that? Bobby, talk to us about that.
I try to plan out my week in advance. We have our set meetings that revolve weekly, but I just create almost a checklist that big projects I need completed and small projects I need completed. And for the big projects, like I will create time blocks in my schedule, usually after 8 o'clock at night, where nobody's calling me, and I will work on those. For the small projects, just like you said, that buffer time, if a meeting ends early or something happens, those are what I use as fillers. So I'm not just sitting around where I'm, you know, just productive.
Lee, did you have something?
Yeah, so I have, I mean, everything's digital now, but I have a big wall calendar that I use on top of my digital stuff. And that's where I put my monthly goals. And so there, I got like a 4-month calendar, but there's a huge margin for each month that I put, you know, my goals of the number of agents that I'm going to bring on that month, and I'll actually put their names down, and that's how I kind of gauge that. That really helps me because I look at that every day. Sometimes you need that visual, you know, to just see it, you know, because it's sometimes, I mean, I use a detailed Trello program that I have that I drag and drop people over, but you still need the visual. So like every time I'm in my home office, I see all those names and it reminds me that, you know, I got to close those people.
And I love that idea. I can tell you this, when I was in production, I actually used to have a whiteboard similar, I'm thinking of what you're talking about. And it used to be my top 20. And my thought was, if these 20 people transact, they will transact with me. That was my thought. No matter what, these people are going to transact with me. And if I'm doing recruiting, I have someone on my team who does that. But if I'm doing recruiting, I'm doing the same thing. If these people leave their brokerage, they're coming to my brokerage.
Yep.
And that's because those people are top of mind. Doesn't mean they're not in my CRM. Doesn't mean I don't have follow-ups. It's just I want to walk in and go, oh, Lee, I haven't talked to Lee in like a week. I need to make sure I go and stalk him on social media, send him a video, give him a text message, something, because he's one of my top 20 people. So I love that idea. Let me talk real quick. If you guys, does somebody, if you don't mind, just for our conversation, so we can all have the same language, would somebody define the difference between a goal and a commitment for me?
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Goal is, I think, long-term. Commitment is your short-term steps to get there.
Anybody else?
I think commitment is getting in the trenches and getting the work done. A goal is just kind of trying to set some form of a milestone.
Isaiah, you said it was a good question. What do you got? And then, well, Scott, please.
So
Yeah.
I think commitment is something that you are committed to doing. In other words, if I was going to buy a car and if the dealer said, I'm not meeting your price, but I quickly find someone else who'll meet that price because I want to buy a car that day, I'm committed to buying a car. Whereas the goal would be, yeah, I'd like to buy a car one day. So I think the commitment is when you overcome all obstacles to achieve whatever that goal was, that you're really committed to it. And that's,
Love that.
to me, that's a commitment.
Okay, I appreciate that. And Scott, that's where I'm coming from too. And here's why, because I have goals, but I also have things that I'm committed to. And here's the difference. And it's still, I'm still going to agree with what Bobby and what Lee said. I'm just going to frame it a little bit different. So we do commitment groups. We call them accountability groups every Monday with my team. So what does that look like? They go in there and they make commitments. So a commitment is, I commit to send 100 BombBomb videos this week. That doesn't mean it's their goal. That doesn't mean that it's something they want. That means it's something they're going to do unless they're in the hospital with a broken hand and can't, be on a computer. So like, I'll give you an example. One week, an agent on my team committed to making a certain number of phone calls. She came back and she said, I didn't do it because I got laryngitis. Okay. I can accept that. If I can't talk, it's really hard to make phone calls. I did turn around and ask her if she sent more text messages and BombBombs and stuff like that to compensate for that. So why am I even bringing this up? Because I got off of a coaching call right before this, and the team leader who I was talking to 2 weeks ago had committed to do some very specific things for recruiting. And he came back and he said, well, this happened and I didn't hit my goal and I wasn't able to. And I called him out on that, not because I'm trying to be a jerk, because that's what someone pays you to do, is hold them accountable to the things that they said they're going to do. So a commitment is something that I am going to do no matter what, assuming I'm capable. So, again, if I can't talk, I can't make phone calls. So what I want you guys to think about as you're building your schedule is, what are you committed to do no matter what? And those things should be commitments that get you to your goals. So again, I'll just break it down. Like, let's say you're recruiting. So Lee's a big recruiter. I know that. Maybe Lee says, I'm committed this week to reach out to at least 100 agents. I'm just making this up. I'm not saying that's what he should be doing. So then he puts that on his calendar. And no matter what, he does that. Now, I like what Lee talked about earlier. And he talked about the fact that, hey, I'm big recruiting. That's what's important to me. I had 3 agents want to join my team. That became my number 1 priority. And that's okay. Like, I'm not telling you that you can't change your schedule, that it can't be flexible, but make sure it's flexible for stuff that moves you towards your goal, not away from your goal. This is the biggest mistake people make. Well, I had to deal with this problem and that problem, and this other thing came up, and all of a sudden, and so I didn't do my recruiting. Well, those things happen. And by the way, they're going to happen next week and the week after that and the week after that. So there are things that are not deal break. They're not, there's no way to break those deals with you. So, and again, for me, if I say, hey, I've got to make recruiting calls from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and then I've got an agent who wants to join my team, just like Lee, that's a higher priority for me.
Okay.
But before I take that block and move it, what's the first thing I do? I go find another block on my schedule and put that recruiting on there, because I've committed to recruiting for 2 hours a day or whatever that is, or I've got a project that I'm working on. So for example, I'm building out a class on communication, and the thing that I've not done a good job at, and I'm committed to do starting next week, is block that out on my schedule. Why? Because those are the things that always get pushed. The conversation with the agents, the Gotta minutes, all these things always get pushed. So what I'm going to suggest to each and every one of you as you build your schedule is on Sunday night or Monday morning, however you want to do that, what's the one thing that I'm committed to accomplish in my business this week? And does my schedule reflect that? Because if you can do that, you will have success. And I don't know how many people have read The One Thing, but I actually think that's a good book. Not a huge Gary Keller fan, but I think that's a great book. What's the one thing that if I do that consistently over time, everything else falls away? In my business, and sounds like in Lee's business too, that's bringing more people into my brokerage. Why? Because every person I bring in makes me about 40 grand a year. Well, how many of those 40 grand a year do I want? And I'm not trying to discount people and make them transactional, but that's the math. So yeah, I'd like another 50 agents so I can make an extra $2 million. Great. That's awesome. That's the thing that moves my business forward. Doesn't mean there's not other things that come up. So when we build our schedule, I want you to start with 2 things. So first of all, this is another huge mistake that people make. Put your personal time on your schedule first. Not enough people do that. And then they go, real estate sucks. I hate real estate. All I do is work, 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 work. Well, guess what? If you put an appointment on your schedule to have a date with your wife tonight from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that's on your schedule. And by the way, those are unbreakable. Like, an agent wants to join your team, I guess you're joining on Monday, because those things have to happen. Or why the heck do we do this? Why do I work 80 hours a week? So I can have a good life and spend time with my family and my friends and have a life, not so that I can die at 50 because I burn out. So step 1 is put your personal stuff on your schedule and make it rock solid. Step 2, come up with what you're committed to do this week. What is the thing that's going to move my business forward? And I love this. I stole this from Joshua Smith. He says, every decision that you make in life moves you towards your goal or away from your goal. And I'm okay if you make some choices that move you away from your goal, but I just want you to be conscious of it and say, you know what? Today, I'm choosing to go play golf. I love to play golf instead of recruit. And I know that that is not in the best interest of my business, but I'm making that choice today. Now, obviously, you can't consistently make choices that don't move you towards your goals or you'll never get there. But at a minimum, be conscious of it. And then make sure that as you go and look at your schedule, it really reflects. So I'd love to hear thoughts on this stuff, guys. What, because I don't want to just sit here and rattle the whole time.
I have a couple questions, not directly related, but related if nobody else has questions, any other questions right now. So a couple things, Lee, or actually, sorry, a couple things, Brian. When you're running a team, what metrics are you tracking on your team, and how often do you expect your team to update their metrics, if at all, when they're working your leads?
Are you talking about like CRM stuff?
Yeah, like do you like if they're working their leads, like they have like a plan that they're following or anything, like do you on the accountability, like when you mentioned like weekly commitments, um what does that process look like when you're working with your team?
Sure. I'll explain the commitment thing. And by the way, those of you who run a team, I don't know that there's anything more powerful than doing this. And so ultimately, every Monday at I'm trying to do math, about 8:45. Every Monday at 8:45. And by the way, commitment groups for us or accountability groups are optional. So why are they optional? Because I don't want people showing up and forcing them to make commitments that they're not going to keep anyway. That's a waste of my time and it's bad energy for the group.
Right.
So they're optional and we meet once a week. They go like this. We actually do 3 commitments in those groups. One of them is personal. So usually someone will say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym for 3 hours this week for, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, something like that. I'm just making something up. So they'll have a personal one. Then they'll do 2 business commitments. And the business, I commit to make 150 phone calls to my sphere this week. I commit to send out 100 bomb videos this week or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter what it is per se. And then they commit to it. But here's a couple of things that are really, really important about this. Step 1 is I stated in what we refer to as commitment form, because this is what you'll hear. And if you're going to run one of these groups, you have to pay attention to the people's language for it to be effective, because you'll hear this. My goal is great. I appreciate your goal. Thank you so much for telling me what your goal is. This is a commitment group. So I need you to set a commitment. So I need you to state that in commitment form, not, oh, my goal is to call 100 people this week. Nope, you've already let yourself off the hook. I want you to say, I commit to call 100 people this week. And it has to be specific, actionable, and measurable. In other words, when we come back next Monday and have this meeting again, there needs to be no doubt whether you kept your commitment or didn't keep your commitment. So all of them are stated in commitment form. Watch out for words like goal and try and hope. Those words are not commitment words. Those are goal-oriented words, but they're not commitment words. So again, I commit to X and then I commit to X. And then here's the other part. And this is really, really hard for me because I want to, when they come back and they say, hey, I committed to make 200 phone calls last week and I didn't hit my goal. I appreciate that you didn't hit your goal. What I need you to say is you didn't keep your commitment. And I make them say the words, I did not keep my commitment. They don't like to say that because it doesn't feel good. Like say those words in your head and tell me how it feels. It doesn't feel good because it's an integrity issue. Like I'm literally saying I lied, for a lot of people. At least that's how I look at a commitment. If I made a commitment to meet you at 10 o'clock and I didn't show up in my world, I didn't keep my word. So I make them come back and state those. Here's the question you cannot ask unless you want people to feel guilty. I don't think you do. Why didn't you keep your commitment? I don't want you to ask that question because all that does is remind you of your mom or your dad or whoever was that person who scolded you and say, why didn't you do that?
Then they're gonna stop showing up.
Yeah, exactly. So the difference you say is, man, Scott, I'm sorry that things didn't go the way for you last week. What are you going to do differently this week? It's the same question, but it's asked in a future pace and it's asked in a way that people have someplace to go. They don't have to feel guilty. Like, look, Scott, I'm sorry, or look, Lee, whoever, sorry that, if you had a bad week, is there anything we can do to help you? Is there anything that you could reflect on that maybe you would do differently? So this week you can do better. Okay. Yeah. You know what, Brian, I really didn't commit to it, whatever it is, but it's a conversation. And here's the other thing. The person who's running the group, ideally, they're not the ones giving all the feedback. So I want everybody else to give feedback. So if you watch some of our meetings, it'll go like this. I might say, hey, Isaiah, and and then somebody might come back and say, hey, Isaiah, you didn't state that in commitment form. Not me. I want someone on my team saying it. I want them buying into it. I want them giving feedback because it means 10 times more coming from Lee as an agent on my team than it does coming from me as the team leader. So it becomes a little bit of self-regulating and it's really a kind of an amazing process. So we do that. We state our 3 commitments. We talk about our success and failure the week before, and then we go on to the next person. When the meeting's over, me as the team leader, I send out accountability partners. I rotate them every week, by the way, so it's not the same person. And you're supposed to check in with your accountability partner every single day. Not on the weekends. We don't do it on the weekends, but basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you check in with your accountability partner. Hey, Isaiah, it's Brian, just checking in. How did your commitments go yesterday? I had a great day. I got everything done I was supposed to do, and I'm looking forward to having a great day today. Or, I sucked yesterday. Man, I'm sorry that you sucked yesterday. We all suck sometimes. Is there anything I can do to help? Is there anything you want to talk about? Yeah, maybe sometimes it's just being their friend, but you're that person and they know they're getting that phone call or you're making the phone call. So it's that someone there to say, hey, I'm here to support you. Because I don't know about you guys, but like I know some of you are like EXP agents, not good or bad. I'm not, no judgment there, but I know sometimes I've heard from people at virtual brokerages, they feel like they're on an island. This keeps them off that island. They've got somebody who's there to connect with them on a daily basis. And during COVID, this was huge because we used to come in the office all the time. And honestly, we've had one in-person meeting in my office in 2 years. So, there's been a disconnection. This helps people feel a little bit connected. And especially if you're at a virtual brokerage, EXP, Real, or just places are really headed virtual. This is a great way to connect with people. So again, Rattle, what kind of questions, thoughts do you guys have about that stuff?
Just to clarify, basically, the accountability call or commitment call is once a week.
Yep.
Is the way you run it. And then each one of them on that call picks a accountability partner that follows.
No, I pick the accountability partner.
Okay.
I don't want it to be like high school and somebody gets picked last in dodgeball. I don't want people to feel bad.
So they all they kind of rotate each week is what you're saying.
Yeah, I rotate them each week. By the way, we do this in
But
either.
how often do they check? How often do they check in with each other? Is there a format to that?
Once a day. Once a day.
Okay.
Yeah, and it can be a text message. Like I prefer they do a quick phone call, but it can be a quick text message. Hey Lee, how'd your business go yesterday? Brian, I kicked butt. It was an awesome day. Kept all my commitments. How about you? It's just somebody who's there, who's asking them that question, because I don't have time to call every one of my agents. Did you do great or did you suck yesterday? Like, I don't have that kind of time. Most of us don't.
Right.
So this is a way to, what you're doing is think about if you could call every agent on your team every single day and have a 5-minute conversation with them. That would be amazing they would be motivated and ready to go. This is a leveraged form of that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Scott.
So if you're holding up with an accountability partner and you hear them saying, well, I'll try to make 20 calls tomorrow, because when I know the words try come out of my mouth, I'm not doing it. It is. I've realized that word means I'm not doing it. So as an accountability person and you hear them say, well, try to it. Can you say, well, I'm not really hearing that you're committed to it. Do you think you could, and maybe lower it a little bit? Can you commit to instead of 20? Do you think you'll commit and actually do 10 to maybe, I don't know if you want to lower their bar, but at least you want to have an accomplishment. So they at least commit to having a win.
Yeah. I don't necessarily, I'm hoping that someone committed to something that they can keep. I'm hoping that. I understand where you're coming from. I would say this hypothetically. Hey, Scott, would you mind if I give you a little feedback? Well, yeah, okay. So, and blame me, blame somebody else. Brian always says this. He always says, if you're going to say try, that you might as well not even, that basically is you copping out long before you do it. So I'm just kind of repeating back what he says, are you committed to do this? Because, I know you can do it. There's no doubt in my mind that you can make 20 phone calls today. And it's not scolding somebody, because that's not beneficial in my world. It's finding a way to reframe that for them and say, hey, you can do this. There's no doubt in my mind you can make 20 phone calls, and seriously, if you can't make 20 phone calls in a day, I don't know what the hell you're doing. But, and again, that maybe that's different. Like maybe somebody committed to make 100 phone calls a day. Okay. Are you having a problem, and you can brainstorm with them like, hey man, maybe you need to use a dialer because you're trying to manually call 100 people a day. That's hard. So, with some leverage, you can do that, or maybe go out and buy Mojo and you can call 100 people in an hour. There's different things that you can do to give people support. And here's another thing during those meetings, by the way, if somebody had said to me, Brian, I commit to make 20 phone calls a day. One of the questions I'm hoping somebody on my team is going to ask, and if they don't ask, I'm going to ask, is 20 phone calls a day going to get you to your goal? Because I can commit to make 1 phone call a day, send 1 bomb, and send 1 text message. I could do that every day. I promise. That's not hard. but it's not going to accomplish anything. It's not getting me where I want to go. So the other thing that's great about accountability meetings is somebody will come in there and make a massive commitment. And then the other people will go, well, crap, if he can do it or she can do it, I can do it. You know, if Brian can make 100 phone calls a day, he's no better than me. And, you know, as far as dialing a phone, no, I don't have a better skill set of dialing a phone than anybody else. This is not a skill set. This is a choice. So.
Hey, Brian, so with our group is we do 9:30 Eastern time every morning, and it's just a quick, I know it's overkill, but we try to we bring down the to one personal goal and one business goal for that day. So we break it down into a small piece to make it more obtainable for, you know, for the agents. So, and then tomorrow's call or on Monday, we'll talk about, okay, Brian, you were going to do this and this. Did you accomplish those goals? So we go back, and before they talk about what they want to get done, that we ask them if they accomplished what they were supposed to do yesterday. And that seems to work really well. And then the other thing is that when we have 15, 20, 30 people on these calls, we get all this collaboration from everyone else. Like someone is like, oh my God, that's a great idea. I want to do this. And so it really helps.
And I would just, you know, is something that you might want to try, Lee. You might ask people if they'd be willing to make commitments instead of goals. And it might not. You might have a system that's working fast. I'm not trying to break your system.
No.
So it's just an interesting idea because it's a mindset for me is what I found out. And I think this is an American culture thing. Like it's funny. I watch people do this. Hey, what's your goal for transactions this year? 200. Great. How many did you close last year? 4. Okay. Do you really feel like do you have the systems and models and everything to get to 200? No, but if I set my goal at 200, then I'll do 30. That makes my head hurt. Like basically you're just saying, I'm going to set a goal that I can't accomplish, but it sounds really good. And I hate that. It drives me nuts. You set a goal, and then part of setting that goal is we can measure it along the way, figure out how we're doing and tweak. If we never have an intent to get there, then it's just kind of, it's pie in the sky at best. And so just a thought. And but I think it's
like
awesome
that.
that you meet every day. So I don't, and because I get to the point, I used to do daily huddles every day. And I got to the point where I wanted to shoot myself after, you know, about a year and a half, 2 years of doing that. And I still made it another year or so. And I felt like everybody showed up and they were just like, I don't really want to be here, but Brian makes me be here. And so we've gone down to less meetings, more accountability. And I think people have appreciated that again, that's my organization. I know a lot of great teams across the country do daily huddles and are very successful. I just wanted to poke my eyes out. So.
I'm not expecting everyone to be there every day because people have to run their business too, if you know, but we're seeing, you know, most of the agents are the ones that are showing up at least 2 or 3 days a week, which is great.
Cool.
Yeah. And that sounds like something where you guys are creating some synergy together. You're working together, getting ideas together. I love that. Great process, slightly different than what I'm doing, but still a great process. And
because I'm with EXP, I think it's necessary because we do have agents all across the country, and I need to really like get them involved on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I can tell you this, you might try what I'm talking about. And by the way, I didn't mention this. We run these in 4-week blocks. And our idea is you come all 4 weeks or you come 0 weeks. So in other words, if you come week 1 and you don't show up week 2, you're not allowed to come back week 3. You're out. Now, we're going to reset this group and you can come back, you know, basically we do 4 weeks, take a 1 week break, do 4 week, take a 1 week break. So we're asking people to commit to 4 weeks on the front end. And again, it's optional. So it's not like you've got to show up, but it is a powerful thing for people to push themselves past where they're at. You know, again, I ran these in person in 2020 in Denver, and I made a guy literally I said, say you didn't keep I don't want to say that. Stand up right now and say, I did not keep my commitment. All right. And he did it, you know, and I promise you next week, he kept his commitment. You didn't want to say that shit again. So it's really amazing how powerful that is. And, it's one of those things that I started doing them in November, December of 2019, and I've never stopped. And it's been one of the things that's pushed our business forward the most. So anyway, I feel like
Cool.
we beat that dead horse. Anybody
no, I
have
think
any
it's-
other questions, thoughts? Looks like we got about 20 minutes, Isaiah. Am I doing that right?
Yeah, right about 20 minutes. Yep. The other thing that, like we're big on, we have a sales and marketing plan basically that an agent can pick and choose, what works for them basically at the level of business that there are. And that's kind of where our commitments come from, is to say, okay, out of all this stuff on the sales and marketing plan, what are you going to move forward to make your sales and marketing plan better? And I would just encourage everybody that is with, everybody to take a look at that plan, that on a daily basis for yourself, but then also for your team. Because one of the things that is really, really important is that when they're making these commitments, they're making commitments based on best practices in the industry too, as much as possible. Because sometimes I've seen these things, I've seen these accountability meetings, and I've been involved in the conversations, and I'm like, how does that, to your point earlier, like, how does that fit into your goal? Like how is that going to help? How is that commitment going to help you accomplish your goal, your goal? Right. And so like for me, and what Bobby and I are working on, and, and our whole training and coaching is developed around this plan, and then tracking your progress around the plan. Now, okay, you made the commitment to work on this part of the plan, and here's where here's a tracking mechanism to help you self-reflect. And I've been talking a lot about that in our challenges, our trainings and coachings, and just opening up to make sure that there's a good tracking mechanism for them to be able to go back and reflect on that. So if you guys don't already, I just encourage you to take advantage of that, the sales and marketing tracker that we built for you, and start using it with your team. Start using that tracker with your team. So
what are some other things that, and maybe we can just have this kind of general discussion. Some of the other things you expect to show up on your daily, weekly, let's say weekly, because everything doesn't happen every day. I'll just list some of them for me, and I'd love to hear from somebody else. I check my numbers daily. In other words, I want to know, am I on track? Am I not on track? So literally every day I get up and I look at a spreadsheet, I cross-reference it with something else, and I want to see where we're at. Why? Because I want to know if I got to go push my agents because they're slacking,
right,
or what am I missing? Why are we $20,000 behind goal this week? So I look at that literally every single morning, and that's something that's important for us too. And so that's some of the stuff that Ren offers, and I think that's important. Other things I think that need to be on there is, if you're in recruiting, it has to be on your schedule. If it does, there's that corny saying, but I think it's true. If it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. You're going to have meetings on there. You're going to have those things. I believe, I cannot emphasize this enough. If you are a good role play scripter person, then get on and do that at least once a week. Or if not, use some of the Ren stuff. People have got to learn to have better conversations. And as a team leader, you are ultimately responsible for the conversations that you're having. If you'd like to lose your hair, then listen to some of the phone calls some of the people on your team make, and your hair will turn the color of mine. So, I mean, I want to kill myself half the time. Like, how can, we did this, and, I'll literally call somebody and say, here's a phone call that I got. You need to listen to this and tell me how you feel about it. Give me feedback on it as if it was my phone call. So I have time for that. And then here's something else. I block self-development every day. Your business grows based on who you are. So the person I was 10 years ago could not have the business I have today. That person's completely different. So the person I'm going to be next week and the week after that, hopefully, is going like this, allowing my business to grow with it. But if you don't act like that's important, you're not going to get any better than that. And then here's something I think is a fabulous tool to force you to use your calendar. get a calendar app. Like Isaiah has one, I've got one, I'm sure most of you have one. And I share that link with anybody and everybody. Why? Because it forces me to keep my calendar up to date, because I don't want somebody blocking in on when I wanted to do something else. So like, you know, if I decide I'm going to go play golf on Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to block that out of my calendar so Isaiah can't schedule an appointment with me, and now I'm screwed. So giving people your calendar link is a huge way to make sure you keep your calendar up to date, because only 2 or 3 times before you say, I'm never going to let that happen again. So those are some of the things that I like to see on a calendar as a team leader. Starts with, you know, what am I committed to do this week? My personal time, and then obviously all the meetings that we have to have, and then blocking in for getting those projects done and blocking in for my personal development. So love to hear. Isaiah, it sounds like you got something to share because you shared your screen.
Yeah, no, I think it just echoing what you're saying. I'm a very process driven person, so I want to give you guys tools as much as possible to be able to implement some of Brian's ideas. So if you go on page 42, it gives you an idea of some scheduling, and the 2022 version of the playbook. We've really tried to break down some potential daily activities, weekly activities, and monthly activities, and just pretty much this is like the perfect marketing schedule, right? This is like if everything was working perfectly, which God knows we know how long it takes to get that to work, right? But it's there for people to think about, to discuss, and to see what they can work on. And having these weekly commitment meetings or these daily commitment meetings, they could literally just pick something from here, use this as kind of like a checklist, and to go through. And now if they hyper focus on their sales and marketing plan, and they're looking at their improvements, then they can keep track of what they did right next to it on the next page. So it's a really great process tool, and it's a really great way to have this discussion around everything that we're talking about, but make it actionable, make it real to them so they can go in. And then if you have somebody who's, you guys hear me talk to you guys all about this all the time. If you're on my other calls, on my Monday, Wednesday calls, I'm talking about this all the time, is tracking your progress with your sales and marketing plan. Because one thing that I learned, I would go out and I'd have all these ideas. Oh, I want to post every day. I wanted to make 42 calls every day. I want to do a video. I want to blah, 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 newsletter, blog, and I'd go to all these classes, but it would be so difficult for me to implement it. And then even when I had a marketing person, like they would do different things, but it wasn't strategic. And I felt like I'm wasting all this money on a marketing person. They're not doing what I want them to do. Right. So like, anyone ever felt that way before? Like in some way? So like this solves all that bullshit. Excuse my language. So this solves all that crap that we go through, because it keeps your marketing person or you or your salespeople all in a direction, having a direction. And this has been, like, for us, has been mind-blowing what we've been able to accomplish as a team by us working on all off of one spreadsheet. And I know there's fancier things, like you can get this into Sisu, and there's some really great tools out there, but like just starting off, if you guys just commit to having to tracking calls, tracking your marketing communications, and filling in the different sort of communications, and then having a simple way to track their transactions and their goals, and do something like this, it will unify you. It'll bring you guys, like, and make sure everyone's moving in the same direction. And then you can celebrate and you can do different things and make it fun. So like what we've started to implement is we actually have a scorecard, and we do different challenges. So like we'll launch a different challenge every month within the team to say, okay, great. Here's all the activities that we can do. All right, let's assign we have a scorecard where you assign points to these different activities. So like, obviously, going out and getting a contract is worth more points than making one call, right? Or whatever, but like you assign the points and now you can have fun. You can make this accountability or commitment call fun too. You bring the people that are competitive out, like that person that Brian was talking about. This, yeah, I'm committed to making 100 calls, whatever, right? Well, if you turn that into a competition, it can be fun. And so all of those tools are there for those of you that are running team and want to really rally your team around something. So between having this marketing calendar, some ideas in the marketing calendar, having this tracking tool, whether you want to just do it out of the book or you want to put it on a spreadsheet, and then making it competitive, you'll start seeing progress happen a lot quicker. Okay.
Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
awesome. You're going to inspect what you're expecting is part of what I'm hearing here. And then here's something else I think a lot of people don't think about. This is an interesting statistic. 0.006% of the information that you take in on a conscious level. What's the relevance of me saying that? This is something I'm going to focus on. If I'm using something like this, I'm telling my brain this is important. And
Right.
so that is really, really vital, is to come up with a process to keep in front of people what's important. And I love what you're doing with that. It's powerful. And contests work too, but here's another cool thing. When you create a contest, think about what you want the people to do.
Right.
So here's one of the things of the last contest that I ran. It was an appointment contest, and you had to have those appointments recorded inside of our CRM. You didn't tell me, oh, I booked 17 appointments, Brian, I promise. Nope. If it's not in the CRM, I don't care if you book 3,000 appointments, that's zero. And so what I'm forcing them to do is teach them what I want them to do. Okay, we got to make phone calls. Well, if you didn't log the phone call, it didn't exist. So, think about what your end goal is and what your process that you want them to do. Build your contest around that, and it really helps.
Awesome. That's great.
Angela, Michelle, we haven't heard anything from y'all today.
You're on mute, Angela.
Well, I can put my 2 cents in now. Okay, so everything that you have like on page 52 and 54 I have something set up similar.
Okay.
And now I'm going to put more into it. So what I did last year, although I have it on the computer, which I'm glad I put it on paper because my computer crashed. So yeah, so I did it on a board. You can see this little thing here. So it's like all of this, but it's running for a whole week. So 1 square is a day. So on that day, and then on the end would be the whole day. You have to cover the whole side. But it looks like a lot, but it's not a lot because it's itemized. So those are things that any agent will have to do.
Right.
Not an option.
Right.
With the exception, if you're not doing probate, you wouldn't have to follow up on any probate,
Right.
things like that or foreclosures, but it's there
Sure.
if it is that you're doing it. The long side with everything on there, those are social media items. So did you count how many people did you touch? But it's all your different platforms. So if it is that you're not using all the platforms, you don't have to cover all of that, but you have to cover on one of the platforms. You can't tell me you're not doing some sort of social media. So unlike the daily stuff, how many calls you're making and stuff like that. So it's a tracker nonetheless.
That's great. That's cool, Angela. I like how, and that's a cool thing about the team structures is you kind of adapt the principles to fit your culture and your team and how you see it laid out. And that's so cool, Angela, to see what you've done with that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I had to come up with something because you do the same thing. And if you're doing something more than 3 times, you have to have a system in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to track what you do. And if you don't track, you don't grow, you don't know what's going on. So
Absolutely. That's great. Who are you with, Angela, if you don't mind me asking?
EXP.
Nice. Cool. Great. That's awesome.
XP showing out today. I don't know where everybody else is.
Yeah, that's right. The serious ones. Yeah. Don't forget about the independents, right, Bobby? right? Yeah, Brian too, yeah.
We're gonna give EXP a run for their money.
Yeah, there you go. That's great. What part of the world are you from, Angela? Like what part, like, are you in what state are you in?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania? Cool. That's awesome.
What area? Like upstate, down, like whereabouts?
Okay, I work the southwestern part of Pennsylvania mostly, but I work all over Pennsylvania. So if you say you're looking for a house at the north and nobody's going to go, I'm going to go. I have a good working vehicle. We're there. There are rentals. I am there. My license says Pennsylvania, so I do not discriminate. You said you're buying or you're selling, I'm there.
That's great.
I love it. I don't discriminate. I'll take anybody's money. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. Also too, if anyone is interested in doing training on my challenges or speaking at all, I am looking specifically, I need more powerful women to come onto the boot camp. So Angela, if you're interested and you have a topic that you feel like you've nailed, I think it'd be great where you can just go to runsupport.com and just let them know that you'd be interested in speaking. That'd be great.
You don't have to convince me. I'm a talker.
Cool. Great. I love it. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up from there. So let's do this, Brian. Is it cool if we wrap up with some commitments based on what we learned today? Would that be a good idea?
No pressure.
Yeah.
It's not a goal. It's got to be a commitment.
That's right. That's right.
Appreciate that, Lee.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll tell you what, I'll start out because I'm committed in the next 7 days to have at least 30% of my course completed that I'm putting together. So there's my commitment.
Awesome.
At least 30% of that class completed.
Great. Awesome. How about you, Bobby?
I am committed to finish this new listing presentation for our local team, as well as the Wednesday Mastermind.
Cool.
I'm committed to finishing 50% of my recruiting videos this weekend,
Awesome.
because I know that there's 24. If I can bang out like 12 of them, I'll be happy. At least I can get and next week to get Whitley up and running.
Cool.
I'll hop on that because we're going to be doing that together.
Okay.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're kind of lock and step there, Lee, as far as what I need to do for recruiting videos. So I'm gonna make the same commitment for recruiting videos. I'm gonna say I'm gonna just say five videos. I'm gonna say 5 videos between now and next week is my commitment. Angela, how about you?
Videos, because I have to do my videos as well. So I had that on my list. But my major thing is to get this tracker on the computer, not just in a spreadsheet, but in a program that I have been working on forever, but I just keep letting go. So my thing would be to get that tracker program up and running.
Great. Is that doable by this time next week, or is it longer? It's going to take you longer.
It's going to take longer, but my commitment is to try and get it done. I actually sent for the part for the computer so that I can get it back and running. So I should not have a problem. And I would receive that on Monday. So I'm giving myself the next every day without taking a breath, getting it done.
Okay.
It's too long. So I am not a procrastinator anymore. That's the thing of the past. So it's going to get done.
That's great.
Can I challenge you for a second, Angela?
Okay.
Appreciate that. Thank you. So, and this is, by the way, this is exactly what I would do during an accountability meeting with someone like that. So my concern with your commitment is I'm not sure how to measure.
Right. And I understand fully well. It's mentally for me, it's not something hard. It's just sit down and do it. Just get it done.
So let me ask you this, how many hours a day or hours next week are you committed to do that?
The hours, and I'm putting it no less than 3 per day, because I'm planning on sitting down the first day and knocking it out, seeing where I'm going wrong and making sure that everything is itemized and on there. The hardest part is going to see the production of it, to see it working, to make sure it is working, because it involves coding as well. So that part, I haven't been coding for a long time. So that part may be sticky, but I'm not looking for an obstacle. There are no excuses. The main thing is get it on there. It's going to work somehow. So the
Right.
how it's going to work, it's not my problem. Main thing is get it in there. Make sure it's working. If I cannot figure that part out, pick up the phone. I need help. The main
What I
thing is
heard you,
get the
yeah.
system done.
So what I heard you say is you're committed to work 3 hours a day for Monday through Friday next week to get the
Yep.
system up. Okay,
Yep.
so perfect. We can measure that. We can say, okay, did you do 3 hours a day for 5 days?
There you
Or
go.
yeah, you know, and that's what a commitment's about to me. Like, okay, now I know I got to go block from 8 to 11 every day or whatever the math is. Now I know if I accomplished what I was committed to or not. You know, especially on those long-term projects, because you
Yeah.
know you can't finish it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, me, I committed to have 30% of my class done. The class is a 12-week class, so I know that I need to have the first 4 lessons done by next Friday, because I can divide by 3. So, you know, that's actually 33%, I guess, is technically a better answer. But, you know, but I know that basically I'm going to have those first 4 classes completed by next Friday. So, but, you know, we can't always do that. We can't always know exactly how long something's going to take, but we can set a commitment to a time block or as well. So that's a great way.
So like I say, I can do 3 plus, but no less than 3. And it's
There you
3
go.
dedicated. 3
Yeah,
dedicated.
you can always work more. That's acceptable.
More, not less. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
I got a question.
Yeah.
All right, not to call you out, Brian, but when Isaiah mentioned Sisu, you made like a little face. And I have a phone call with them Monday because we're thinking about switching over. So I want your true opinion on that.
I'd prefer you write the $279 check a month to me. It's about as effective. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. Sisu, here's how I feel about Sisu. It's a glorified spreadsheet that's made pretty.
Okay.
If that works for you guys, and let me just say that, if making cool graphs and stuff like that is something that's going to help your business, then by all means use it. But if you've got a system in place, why would you spend $279 a month? And I don't know what their integration with LionDesk is, but their integration with Follow Up Boss sucked. And we actually had to use either RealSync or a guy named Daniel Poston to make the things play together. And I'm like, I'm spending hours and hours and hours trying to get this thing to play with my CRM.
Mhm.
My spreadsheet does literally every single thing that it does. And I couldn't make it work. Now, there's thousands of agents across the country who use Sisu. I don't need a pretty picture to know how my business is doing. I can look, I'm a numbers guy. So that's just me.
So let me ask you this then. What do you use for transaction management and billing for your team?
For
What
transaction
system?
management, I
Yep.
use Open to Close. And Open to Close is amazing. There's a caveat to that. It is a train wreck to set up. It is such a powerful program that it's really hard to set up. So, but I believe that Isaiah with you guys have a bunch of tech people who could probably get it set up a lot faster, because
Right.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's coding like Andrew was talking about, but it's some understanding of how things operate. And then, so that's transaction management. What was the other question?
Just for transaction management and billing.
What
basically.
about dot loop? Is that
Yeah, dot loop.
I hate dot loop, just to be honest. I mean, what do you use it for, if you don't mind me asking?
we're not, we're revamping our transaction management process.
Try looking at SkySlope.
SkySlope. Yeah, SkySlope is great for storage, and like I know EXP uses SkySlope. I prefer open to close just because it's much more. Here's what I like about open to close versus Skyslope. Skyslope is more about, and Lee, tell me if I'm wrong, I haven't looked at it in a long time, but it's more about transaction management, storage, and that it's not about driving tasks and communicating with people in the transaction, right?
Yeah. I'd
So-
have to agree with you on that.
So open to close, what I like about it is when I complete a task, I can send a text message, a voicemail, an email automatically just by completing a task. So what it does is it forces my transaction coordinators to over communicate with both agents in the transaction, assuming there's two: title, mortgage, everybody. And this is why it took us so long to build it out, because every step has an automation that goes out to people. Okay, the appraisal came in successful. We checked this box. Now the listing agent got a message, the selling agent got a message, the title, all these people. And so
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're looking for.
So that's open to close. If you want, Isaiah, I can introduce you to Andrew. He's the owner of the company.
Yeah, Bobby's heading that. That'd be awesome. Maybe like copy us in on a Facebook
Mhm.
Messenger. That'd be
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah. So, and then for billing or payments, you guys have a brokerage. So how do you pay your agents? What program do you use?
So we're using QuickBooks, but it's starting to get out of hand because everybody's got different splits and it's where the lead came from and this and that. So we're trying to develop that into Skyslope or whatever, open to close or whatever we go into.
So look at Broker Sumo for that. It's not my favorite product, but it works pretty well. What I like about it too is like at the end of the year, I can hit a button and print out 1099 reports. I can go print a report for everybody who got paid this month. And basically inside there's different splits that you set up based. And so you go in there, you click this button and now it changes. Okay, now you're on a 70-30 split for this transaction. Okay, you're on a 50-50 for this one. This one has a fee that goes on it. I like it, and it does sync with QuickBooks. And you can actually pay agents through it, but I will tell you that we stopped paying agents through it because it caused a delay. So, and there's nothing that infuriates me more as a broker owner than my agents not getting paid on time. Because I don't want to lose an agent because it took them 3 days to get paid. Because even though I think that's ridiculous, agents hate that. And I understand you worked hard for your money. You deserve to get paid when it closes. So,
Yeah.
But Broker Sumo is pretty good with that. It has amazing reporting. I think it's a KV Core product actually.
Looking at them right now.
All right, cool. We are over time. This is good stuff. Great stuff. Great mastermind, guys. I took a ton of notes today, and let's make sure we stick with our commitments. And I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's outcome next Friday. Sound good?
Thanks,
Everybody being
Brian.
here.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too, Lee.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Isaiah.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.